Um, I I met one online, not we haven't met yet in person. Online, one woman. She was living in London, and she, let's see, allowed to share? Yes. She died of 5G. She was extremely electrosensitive, and her system collapsed. And they switched on the antennas, and she died. And from her perspective, she went out of her body into the spiritual realms, and she gathered all her previous incarnations. She was kind of traveling around in the spiritual realm, looking for them, putting them back together if they were fractured, putting everything back into place and collecting them all. And when she was done, she was sent back into her body after 5 months of her perception. For her husband, it was 10 seconds. And then her physical heartbeat and breath came back. So he didn't really believe her that she was gone for so long. And he didn't recognize her because she was a completely different human afterwards.
Interesting.
And having met someone like that is a beautiful thing, because you can see who we are when we're done with this job of really gathering all the fragments of one divine soul. Because the sum of it is what we are. And it's so much more than just one incarnation.
That's for sure.
And with her, it's like a bit like with Lucy, the film by Luc Besson. When she's arriving at 100% of her brain capacity, she says when she's moving her arm, she can see a trace of light kind of flowing behind it. And at the same time, she's super normal. No ego components left. Completely just sheer beauty. And it's kind of, it's a gift. It's a gift when you get the opportunity to have that done kind of in one rush. And then you're ready and you stand there as a template for basically keeping present the signature of how it looks like to have completed the process. I guess this is why it happened on her end. This is why she was sent back.
No such thing as a bad challenge, it seems. Even the electromagnetic kind.
Yeah. Doesn't matter. Shit happens. With another one, it was even one step further. With her, I would say this is for the individual soul, mission accomplished. I met one that started to develop quite extraordinary abilities, and she was scared of herself. And what was happening there actually was that the entire soul family was done. I'm not sure. It's something like 50 spirits connecting to one family. And kind of in that session, they all said hello to me. And some of them even introduced themselves by name. It was like um, pictures coming very quickly, faces, boom, 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 through her face. I was looking at her, and I could see all the other faces on the astral plane being in her. And I didn't really understand whether this were these previous incarnations. I didn't know, but it tested as soul family. And the most famous name among was Maria Magdalena. So not even
Interesting.
A normal soul family, quite an important one. And they were basically waiting to all incarnate through her, knocking on the door, asking for allowance to be all in her. And I heard about that phenomenon from other people. It's like, it used to be like 1 in a million when an entire soul family is leaving a plane and having one last gathered incarnation. Normally, what I learned was that it's when people die, are gone for a while, and then they come back into life. I met one, I think he was gone for 3/4 of an hour, clinically dead. And then he revived and was quite extraordinary afterwards, kind of with the entire soul family on board. Very potent healer in Germany. And yeah, so I guess what we see is really a lot of people packing their stuff.
Yes, it's a good way to put it. Packing their stuff and cleaning up, getting ready. It's an amazing time to be alive. I found, and you've helped put this in some easy to understand, I would say, perspectives for people. When I hear over and over, why are we going through these challenges? Why are, filling the only reasons why people are asking why for all the craziness going on, we'll say, or the shenanigans. And, it seems like a sweet way to come to an answer as to the challenges that can help you to pack your bags, we'll say, and get ready for the ultimate journey.
It's nice because I always kind of envied psychology for the loads of data they have. And now after like close to a year of working on daily basis, we finally get some data on the spiritual plane of repeating phenomena. You never know. You experience something, it always can be a one-off. But if you have the same pattern repeated over and over again, and the same tricks work perfectly over and over again, you get exactly what psychology always had, spirituality never.
But can.
But it's coming together now. And the techniques get more and more refined.
I would agree. Kind of developing a spiritual healing scientific process of otherworldly, I'm not sure how to put it. Probably you could put it better than I, but it's interesting that you're spearheading in many ways the forefront of this kind of work. And maybe seeing even why you came into this body, went through your own challenges to come to where you are right now.
Looks like one of my jobs, yeah.
Well, I, for one, am delighted to get to know you better and to hear about this process and to hear about the healing process, and, perhaps we've come to a bit of an end in this conversation on some of the simple ways people can heal themselves, dissolve their duality, make friends even with the non-human binary parasites. And, I've heard that was possible from other people over the years, but, if helping them to ascend and you're helping yourself to ascend and giving them the option, that's pretty sweet. Through, pretty sweet way to deal with the demons of disease, we'll say, which is one of the things I was going to talk to about this conversation, but it takes a lot of the fear away the way you've presented it, I think, which can only be a helpful perspective, in my opinion.
maybe we can add that on top, because we've been talking a lot about entities, because it's a completely new way to look at things. And just to get a clear definition, every animal we know has its own DNA cluster. And on this DNA cluster, there hovers an animal spirit, kind of a conscious being. It's a law of nature. Wherever you see DNA, you see a spirit. Yeah? And then you have things like a disease. It also has its own DNA. It doesn't have really a body of its own, but it's living in the bodies it infects. And I find it quite likely and logical that it should have something like a spirit of its own, consciousness of its own. And people can visualize that. If you look into Vedic medicine, it's basic knowledge that a disease has an entity. If you look into older European medical science, people still had the perception to see them. Yeah, like the entity of the Black Death is black. The entity of yellow fever is yellow. Yeah, so people used to see them. In the moment of infection, you get a perception of what's entering your body. And we actually did some research in the context of the running pandemic. I hope this is not killing our show. Especially about the function of the thyroid. The thyroid is loaded with gels and crystals that emit light, receive and emit light. It's basically a biophoton organ. This is known to science. They don't understand the function, but they see it's glowing 24/7, glowing and receiving light. And what could be perceived from clairvoyant side about infections is that you have something coming into your nose, triggering the pheromone receptors. Then the information about the available disease you smelled is given to your immune system. It makes the decision, do I need this disease or don't I need it? And if you need it, the entire package is going down to the thyroid. And the thyroid is then developing a light pattern that calls or dismisses the available disease entity. And this can be seen from the one who is already infected. The entity there recognizes the light pattern if it's invited to come in. And then it's forming a sprout, and the sprout shoots into the uninfected, takes over the control of the thyroid, and from there controlling the voice pattern. And the voice pattern is controlling the immune system. The frequency patterns say, let this germ multiply or this virus multiply. Or if the job is done of the disease, if the body is cleansed by the disease, then the voice will signal, okay, we've had enough, we can get healthy again. So this is the general concept of a disease entity, and most of them, the natural ones, are symbionts. They help us organize life. They help us cleanse our body, or sometimes they help us to regulate overpopulation. From the collective aspect, it's a healthy mechanism. For the individual, it's not that nice, you know. but it's better than a famine. Still, better choice. Or a war.
Many ways to look at healing.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit worse than conscious birth control, but I've never seen humans doing that. Yeah, so this is kind of the natural concept of those entities, and we do see some coming from transhumanist corners that seem to be lab-made, or if you go into the spiritual perception, tortured.
Tortured, right?
Yes. So if you look at the entity of a bioweapon, it's a being that used to be a very useful symbiont, doing services to other species, that was captured and tortured to become something so low vibrant that the disease is not natural anymore. And looks like we will be seeing more of that in the coming years. And possibly we will see some. Maybe it's a good idea to put that out. We will see some of them that cannot be defeated by the World Health Organization or Bill Gates or our stupid politicians, just because the bioweapon quality I have seen in the last year is of a completely different quality than anything I've seen before. You get basically biofilms composed of fungi, bacteria, and viruses that stabilize themselves and survive in open territory. How do you want to contain a disease like that? And then you have a look at the spirit connected to the entire thing. And you realize this one is tortured so deep down to hell that the symptoms of the disease is a complete zombification.
Interesting.
This is kind of something that might be coming. And if it should come out of the reach of people who already have learned to deal with it, the only solution actually is to heal the disease entity and the core of her beingness.
I guess we'll go back to the beginning of this chat.
Yes. It's the same pattern over and over again. So if you want to defeat a disease like that, there's no point in trying to contain it, because you can't contain something that can be transported by the wind and is growing cultures and multiplies itself wherever any organic matter is around. Like eating plastic or trees or grass or humans or whatever, occupying houses completely as a biofilm. And then, of course, infecting people. You can't contain it, but you can take care of the beingness within.
For sure. I would say so.
And this worked in the past. And yeah. I don't know. Well, just an impulse to share that bit. Normally I don't talk about the more difficult bits and pieces of what I do. Just because, they need to be done. But sometimes I think, okay, not everything lands on my table.
No.
So for those who are awake enough to do that type of work, I thought maybe it's a good idea to share how to deal with this type of problem.
I'm happy we got it out there. I may make 2 videos out of this, one for the initial healing, and then when we get into the harder, deeper stuff for people to follow along, if they want to go there, make sure we get out through all the areas we need to get out to, because the first bit of this in the healing,
maybe you put a fear-mongering alarm button on top of it.
No, it just also seems to me like it's a topic that we should go much deeper into if we're going to broach, maybe in a different video. And allowing, because I have about 12 more questions which just came up now in relation to what you've just said.
It's the same concept like with COVID. COVID also, once you take it out, I can mention COVID. COVID is developing a similar biofilm in the intestines of the human.
Right.
It's a symbiosis of fungus, bacteria, and virus that is self-stabilizing, and people contract the thing without having any infection inside the body. But the biofilm is producing toxins, killing them. But no virus in the blood necessarily.
Interesting, for sure.
So this is really something that it's new. I don't know who brought this into the game, but that is now the 3rd one I'm seeing.
Crazy and interesting and scary. Guess we have to balance this chat out by a simple, sweet way of healing, and we go back to the monstrous side of things. To kind of
cut that out.
Yeah, no, I'll put it up for maybe I'll put an alternative, like the full video up on Odyssey or something. So if people want to follow through and go through with their, they can do that. And we'll end it with the healing bit about 10 minutes ago for this particular one, because I think it's a lot of good information for people to pick up with. So Harald, is there anything you'd want to leave us with in this particular conversation on our way out with the healing and the bit? I think you said.
I just hope that all the people who really thought their life is cursed to realize it's blessed.
I would agree that, perhaps you could say there's no cursing or blessings. There's just challenges, and you can figure your way through them and, see what that can do for you in your life. And to know there's, a happy ending if you pick up the pieces and decide to take responsibility for integrating all the challenges in your life, or maybe even the previous lives. All right, Harald, thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate the smile at the end. I know it's late for you. I hope to do more as possible for us. If anybody has any questions, anybody wants to do any healing with Harald, anybody has any further suggestions for talks and things like that, contact us, leave some information below. I'm happy to pass along what's possible. I'll put Harald's website and his contact as he desires below this video too. And we hope to see you all again very soon. I love you all very much. Thank you for joining us. Harald?
Maybe one last sentence.
For sure.
I'm basically completely occupied with the healing sessions. I can't take on more.
Okay.
I already do. So this year I started to swap more time into educating other people doing the same job. Until now, it's only been in German, because this needs to be done in person. But for the summer, I was planning to make a first seminar at my place here in my village. We are basically preparing the space for having enough beds to offer. And I thought if anyone internationally wants to have an introduction into the techniques as a real inspiration, which means a mix of assisted self-healing and learning how to do it.
Will it be in German or will it be in English? Or
it will be in English then. Normally I make them in German.
Right.
Mostly I've got a couple of places in Germany where I travel to, people who host the seminars. And the English one, I thought it would be a good idea if I host the first one myself.
Well, there you go.
It's not that far away from England, at least. Wouldn't expect anyone to fly over from Australia, but
you never know.
You never know.
You never know. All right. So you can learn with Harald directly. You can watch some of the videos. And if anybody has anything other to suggest that we might be able to tackle as topics, I'm delighted to hear your opinions. All intelligent suggestions are welcome. Once again, Harald, thank you so much. I appreciate all the work you've done and everything you've shared with us. And I hope to see you again soon. Bye, everyone.